Hey everybody. Hey, it's David back from Florida. And boy, it's been working. I'm so happy that it's working. we, hello, and today we're going to be doing a scene that I kind of had. Um, Sarah Yeoman does a lot of kayaks. I don't know if she's an artist from New York, and I've seen a couple of her works of these kayakers, and also a lady I know down in um, Southern Illinois. Not Southern Illinois. Where was it? I forgot the name, but Adrian, one of my students, she also does some great kayakers and stuff. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of that to show you guys. But before we do that, I'm going to just let you know about my Facebook group. Thanks a lot for all of you that have joined my Facebook group. There's a group that I put together that you guys can go and show your work that you do here on the site. And so that's awesome. So thanks for signing up to that. And that way people can just help each other out and stuff. And so thanks a lot. Also want to thank Tina for putting my name in or nominating me for this Jerry's Artorama thing. Thanks a lot for doing that. Thanks for signing into that. Tonight's beer, let's see, we got a Milk Stout Nitro. So we're going to see what that's like. Whoa, it must have some kind of thing inside. It's like a Guinness. It's coming out of there, all right, isn't it? So cheers, everybody. Cheers. Oh boy, that's strong. Hopefully we'll get this done. All right, let's go over to our value study real quick. I want to just explain a few things. Well, actually, first, let me show you the supplies for anybody who's new. These are the supplies I'm using. And actually, today I am using masking fluid. So that's the masking fluid I'm using up there. The Holbein makes some great masking fluid. And so that's that. Here's the Facebook page if you want the address. It's called the Float Your Pigment Goal Achieving Group. And so go up there if you want to see that. And let me think. What else we got to do here? Oh, we got a value study. Well, I didn't do a value study this time. I did a black and white of it. And I'm going to do a few changes. And the few changes that I'm going to do are bringing the this is all going to be dark, but I'm going to bring a little bit of light on this side, just a little bit. There's a few branches on this side. I'm going to lighten that up a little bit. But basically, this whole side is kind of like a yin yang type of thing, so that this side is going to be your dark, and this side will be your light. And almost like I said, like the yin yang thing, where it kind of comes in here. We're going to have our darkest dark and lightest light right in this area, which is a center of interest. So, and we're going to keep things really loose for the background. And I kind of like the colors that you're using here, the greens and stuff. So you can go with that, or you can go with blues. But since the leaves are going to be yellowish green, I'm going to probably go with that. Unless maybe I'll go orange with that. So we'll see as we go along. And so we're going to go to that. And so let's just go right to our tabletop and see what we're going to be doing here. And there's the name of the beer. You see that? All right. Oh, you can tell I didn't clean out my palette this time. Last week we were in Florida doing this, and so we're back in my studio, but we're not back in. I still haven't figured out my studio in my studio. This is still in my office. And so let me just clean this up real quick. I totally forgot about a couple of spots here. Let me first show you a thing about masking fluid. So a couple things I use. So here are the things that I use for masking fluid. One is Jerry's Artorama actually sells these things. They're these little small. They're actually called. Let me look here. See, put my glasses on. Hold on one second. Oh shoot, where did I put my glasses? Well, anyways, this is a masking fluid brush. You know, so it's a real. They come in this size and like a 1/4 inch, and they come in I think packets of 8 for like $3. It's like, and actually has a good brush to paint with. So you can use that with the masking fluid. You can tell I put masking fluid. Put kind of dots here. This seems a little bit too even, so I'm gonna probably take a little bit of this part off here. Now I'm looking at it. And make that a little thinner, and so that it doesn't look so thick as this one. I'm also going to show you a trick on how you take the brush across it quickly. So that's one thing you use. You can also use a rubber brush. This is a rubber. It's rubber on the tip, so you can dip that into the masking fluid, and then use that to put dots and stuff. And I put a lot of dots right here, if you can see. And then I have the liner brush, and the liner brush is this thing. Architects, I think, used to use it, and it has 2 little things that go on both sides. And what you do is you can make it thicker or thinner, the line, by this little round wheel here. There's a little round wheel. You can open up the tip to be, how far you want in there. See how it opens up, and if you turn it, it opens up wider and thinner. So that's one way you can use it. And what you do is you just dip it into the masking fluid. You just dip in, and then you can take even a ruler, and you can make really long straight lines with it. Um, I'll maybe put a link on this Facebook or YouTube page, and so you can actually order one of these from Amazon. They're really pretty inexpensive, but that's what I use for lines and then my masking fluid. Just really easy to put the masking fluid on. That's what I use to put this on. So I drew her up, and I put right in here. I put the masking fluid around her because anywhere that's white or the white of the water, I just made that all masking fluid. You could do that for up here after you put down the color of the leaves and some of the water. You could do that and then do your big wash over that. But I'm going to do it a little differently because it takes too long for it to dry for me. You guys can do it that way. So you let it dry after you put the wash down, put masking fluid on top of the wash, and then you can take it off after you do your big wash. All right, so let me see who's here today. Let me welcome you guys in. So we got Barbara. Hey, Barbara. Hey, Maura. Hey, Tina. Tina again. Thanks for the nomination thing online. Joyce. Nice to see you, Joyce. Lynn. Lillian. Any questions? Could you hold the picture up closer so we can see where you put the mask? Oh, okay. Thanks. So the masking fluid was put right, you can see anywhere it's blue. So I put little dots in this area. See how it's too even? So I'm going to mess that up a little bit. I'm going to show you how to do some lighting also, how when you go across it quickly. So any other questions here? I think, let me see. Hey, Sonia. Hey, Carol. Hey, Linda. And okay, so let's get started here. So again, work light to dark, back to front usually. This one though is going to be slightly different because the background's dark, and normally when the sky is light, but since this is light and the water's light, we're going to go right into the whole thing like it was like, because we don't see sky, and I'm not going to have sky in here. So I'll grab my 1 1/4 inch brush, and can't wait until I get my studio out there all set up, but just got back from Florida. It was a long drive. So we're just going to wet everything. We're going to wet the whole shebang. All the way through everything. This should be a pretty simple, easy painting because it's big values. And once you get to drawing, I mean, the main drawing is only the person. And I saw that they posted the AWS entries, and whoever got in, congratulations if any of you got in. I know one of my students, Phil Babb from up there in Wisconsin, he got in. Congratulations, Phil. Great job. Phil is an illustrator like I used to be, and he still is doing illustration. But he's also a great watercolorist. He's doing some great stuff. And I think I may have seen what he put in from, I think last year he got in also. And he's putting in black and white portrait type of thing. Very nice, very cool stuff. All right, so what am I going to go with for the leaves? I'm going to take my smaller brush for this. So everything's wet right now. I don't know if you can tell. Everything's really, see how it's all wet? It's shiny. You can see by the reflection. So everything is nice, evenly wet. It's almost like somebody asked me this week, or even last week, we do things on plexiglass. When you use thin paper, you can drench the sheet and you put it on a piece of plexiglass, and then it'll stay flat, and you can use real thin paper. But then while it's all wet like this, you just get all your wet surfaces done. All your things that are going to be soft edged, you get that done. I decided I'm not going to go with green. It's just not one of my favorite colors. Orange is my favorite, and it's one of my second favorite. Of course, purple is my first, but we're not going to make purple leaves. We're going to make some orange, yellow leaves, I think. Instead of green, green is still in the yellow family, so it's going to be pretty close. So here I'm going to go in there, get some nice yellow leaves. Make it more of a fall scene, like this person is kayaking in the fall instead of in the mid-summer. And again, water does not have color to it. Well, where we live, it does have color like this, like the green. But you can make it any color what's above. So this is basically reflecting into the water, right? So you're going to do the same thing down here. I gotta still finish this though. Let me just put a little bit of this orange up here. You can just switch things around as long as you stick with the value study. Number one, value study. You have to, well, actually number one is drawing. Second is, the value pattern and the composition of your values. So we're going to go in here and then just use those colors because it's reflecting into the water. Now, I can't do that thing I want to show you how to do it, the scumbling. You scumble across. We'll do that later when it's dry, because what happens is you can go across it real quickly, and it's really kind of fun. So here we're going to go and just put this in here onto this side. And since I told you I was going to put it on the opposite side too, so up in this corner right here, up there where it's really dark, I'm going to put a little bit of the yellow. And so, hey Sarita. Sarita was in my class last year. Hey Mary. Hey Carol. Hey Rita. Hey Suze. Thanks again for coming back every week. Cheers everybody. This week it's nitro. It's milk stout. Oh boy. Okay, so we're gonna go in here. I'm gonna put a little bit of this yellow and orange mixture. You can put a little red in there if you want to make it a little bit more, darker in some areas, which is what you want to do. I mean, you don't want it all in the picture. Everything is pretty much hard edged for these leaves. I'm the artist. I want to make some of it soft edged by just doing it while it's wet. And now I notice that I don't have a pure yellow in the areas. And I don't have white in there, which I could possibly use. So I'm gonna take some white and some yellow and try to get a little bit of light in there, just because kind of went over that, and so I'm missing some of the white and yellow that I should have had put in there. And since I have it over here, even though this is gonna be dark, it's gonna be dark, but I'm just gonna throw a little bit in there, just a little wisp, so that not everything leans to this side. I want to put a little bit on this side. I don't know. I guess either way it would work. But it seems like because it's really weighed heavy on this side with the leaves on the one side and then the boat, it's all kind of over there. So I'm putting a little bit on both sides here. And so then, oh boy, are you getting a feedback? Hold on one second. I just didn't put my volume down. I hear myself. All right, so now we'll go right into the darks. And also in the picture, she's wearing a backpack, and I took that off of her. I thought it was kind of, hard paddling when you have a backpack on. So I just gave her a life vest instead of a backpack. You can do that. Make it easier on your kayaker. All right, so then we go with our dark. So what do you use for orange for your dark? Yellow, we have yellow, so of course purple. And we've got orange, so that's blue. Blue and the yellow, though, will make the green, which is, I guess, okay. But I'm going to go more with the dark purple and go into that field. And not so much blue with the orange. I'm taking this more towards the purple. So, and again, you can use any of the colors. I dip into all the colors. And I'm going to start over here where it's really dark. And I've got to make sure that my brush is hardly wet at all. Because again, my whole surface is really, really wet, right? And so if it's really wet, it's going to bleed all over if I don't use a lot of pigment. And don't put any water in your brush. You don't need to. Here I have dark blue, Prussian blue, permanent violet. This is brilliant violet. And so I'm going to go in here, and it's going to be soft edge because this is wet. And later on I'll go and get some harder edge stuff in there. But right now it's all soft edge because it's all wet. But look at how dark that is. It's going to be really, really dark. And I even can put some of the yellow in there right away. Now this is negative painting. This is where if you would put the masking fluid in there, you wouldn't have to do this. You could just go right over it. You'd let this dry. You'd put masking fluid over that yellow, then put this on top of it and not have to worry about going around something. But since I liked having some soft edges in here, that's cool too. So I'll go a little bit farther away, and I'll come back in later with some hard edge stuff. Any questions? Again, let me know. Oh, I got two Carols. Welcome, Carol. The other Carol. So here I'm going to take some of this orange right into this dark. And the nice thing is that when you're doing this wet in the wet, you get all soft edges. You can float other colors in that dark. And so I'm going to float the orange in there because it's lighter back there. You notice how it's lighter right here? It was really dark here, but then it gets a little lighter right here. It gets into, like, I'm going to use some just pure orange because I want that to be lighter and go to darker contrast on this side. And then I put masking fluid there so I can go right over her head. Now this is like the line of where the river meets the shore. Go right overhead. What the heck? That's why I put masking fluid, so I don't have to worry about that. Now this is kind of a brown, and so we wanted to get a little bit more of the yellowish purple and orange. So I'm gonna stick some yellow on top of there. I know it's like people are against putting yellow on top of dark, lights on top of dark, but you can do it if it's nice and wet. So see, I'm putting yellow on top of the Prussian blue, or the purple, I should say, which is going to give me a brown or yellowish brown. That's okay, because it's going to be lighter and gets darker and darker as I come over this way. Now I'm going to go back to getting my dark. You could even use some black just to push it down really nicely. And see, at this time too, while it's wet, I can make it look foliagey. A new word, foliagey. I can make some foliage. So we're making some foliagey. So here we go. I'll make some foliage that's nice and smooth. I got a little bit of spatter there. So just bring this across. Of course, it's going to bleed downwards into the water, but that's okay because I'm going to be going down there anyways with the dark. So here, I'm getting dark as I'm coming across and put little dots there to make it look like there's a bunch of trees back there. And like I said, I know it's not green because it's not summer. It's going to be fall because I'm using yellows and oranges and violets in the dark. So back here it can be warm and it can go to a cool. Now it's starting to get a little bit of dry over here. So I'm going to take, and I don't have my spray bottle here, do I? Nope. I'm just going to wet it with the side of my brush a little bit again. Normally I would take my sprayer bottle and just wet it with the spray bottle, but you can do the side of your brush too. Just kind of go in there with clear water and just re-wet it a little bit because it was starting to get dry. Take some black and some purple and negative paint out. Oh, you see, sorry about that. You can't see the reflection, the water reflection. So I'll make this dark, and I want these leaves over here not to be hard edge like this because I don't want you to really have your vision come over to this side that much. Just enough to say, okay, we have a little bit of something happening over here, so your eye doesn't run everything on that side. That's just when I talk about composition, a lot of times I tell people, you know, it's just look at it. If it looks kind of off-centered and something looks like it's like too much weight on one side, it's like a level. You just kind of know, you can see it, and you don't want that. You don't want it to have like it feels like everything's on one side and unbalanced. You want to feel it balanced a little bit. So there we have our dark side here, and I'm just poking down in it. And I do have this brush right here. I call this the ugly brush. This is like a more of a used more for the acrylic brushes, for my paint parties. But it's called a chip brush. A chip brush. You can get them at like Home Depot, Menards, and they're like 50 cents or something like that. And so they're really long, but they're better when they're used a lot. Because otherwise you give it to a guy. I kind of like how it's like really frayed and stuff. So when you take your brush, you put it into the colors. You take a big amount, and you can get like little. You can just tap down on it, and it gives you kind of like a foliage look. I can even take like pure pigment, pure yellow, and just kind of tap it down, and it kind of gives you like a texture of the brush bristles. I kind of didn't want to do all that because now I just covered up some of the yellow. So let me get some of that back real quick. I don't want to take it all away. So I'm going to take some orange back in here. Just want to have this part a little bit like it's in front and that's in behind. Oh my gosh, look at what's happening over here. You guys didn't tell me about this. So there, I just rub over that. All right, so now we're going to do the water right away since we got this. But I noticed that this is starting all dry, which actually is a good thing. I'm kind of glad it's dry. So we're going to go right in here right away. It's starting to dry enough, so I'm going to take it, and I see there's a shadow, and so I'm going to take the colors from above. I'm not going to need new colors. Use the colors that are from above. That's what's reflecting into the water. And so I'm just going to use that color, those colors, come across here. It doesn't, in my picture, the shadow doesn't touch the paddle. So I'm going to go just slightly above the paddle. This side it does, I think, touch the paddle. Come across. I'm going to get some more purple in there. Like I said, it's a pretty simple painting as long as you learn how to do a wet into wet and control that surface of wet into wet. And the way to control that surface when it's wet into wet is that you make sure you use enough pigment. It's all about how much pigment you have on your brush. Now I didn't get enough of the orange in there, so I'm going to do that now real quickly. But watch this. I'm going to take a kind of a loaded brush of orange. It's kind of wet, the brush. It's dry here. And I'm going to go across this quickly with the side of my brush. Pull it up a little closer so you guys can see. Let me put this paper towel on the side here. Pick it up here a little bit. But what you're going to see is that I'm going to take it across here quickly, like with the edge of the brush. And I'm getting texture. Just using the side of the brush. I'm not using a tip. I'm not going like this. I'm wisping across the side. And this is texture. This is cold pressed paper. So I'm picking up the surface. And I'm also picking up the masking fluid. So I'm going to do a little bit of this here. And I just do that right here because I want the sun to shine right down this section right here. I want sparkle. More sparkle than that's in the photo because I know that I've done enough of those paintings of sparkle that I know how to do that. And so quickly go across it with a wet brush of a color. I'm going to use the orange. Orangey yellow. If you go quickly, you get a surface that's textured, making it look like it's sparkle. You can do that with blue, and when it's like a blue water, oh, it looks so wonderful. Now this side over here, I'm just gonna wet it as I go along. I'm just gonna wet a little bit more. I don't want that to be as sparkly over there, and I want it to be really dark. So I'm gonna come in here. And a little bit of dark. A little bit of orange, because that's what's up there. And so I'm just copying what's up there. And I put waves in here. Little waves. Because you don't get ripples and you don't get things unless you have waves. You need surface. The surface needs to be wavy for you to catch light on it. Otherwise, it's like a mirror, right? In the morning when you wake up really early, if you live on a lake, it gets really soft or smooth, and so you don't see anything except what's above it. It's like a mirror. But as the wind comes up and it gives it a little bit of a surface wind hanging over there, then it's okay. Then you can put waves in, because that's what's happening. Now how big the waves are and how big the texture is, that's up to you. I'm putting some here on this side too. It's going to get a little bit. I don't want to lose those white of the paper because otherwise I have to put it all back in with white paint, and that just doesn't look as nice. And the masking fluid is going to pull it out. I did that. There's still a bunch of mask white here, so that'll pull it out too. So then I cross it again. Here I'll use a little bit of this color, which is a little bit of violety red, a little bit of brown, into Imidazolone brown. I forgot to wet my surface of my palette before I started. But Holbein's great with that, so that you can just get your colors. They're so moist. They don't dry to a hard clump. So you just go in there and you just pick up a lot of paint, even though it was dry. And just get darker as I come down, because it's darker up here. So I'm just going to make it darker down here. And follow your value study. Follow your values that you saw in your picture, which was my black and white. This is really dark over here. Later on, I can go get the hard edge stuff in here too. I can get a few hard edge leaves, negative paint them. All right, so again, with some darks in here. Quickly across this middle where I'm going to sparkle. Now this side is not as dark, though there is a spot right here that's dark. So this part right here, right by the paddle, I'm just going to put that in with almost like a dry brush. But it's not dry brush because my brush is wet. It's just that I take it across it lightly and wisp it across the top. Don't practice this on your painting. Practice it on a sheet of paper that you have on the side of that you're using for practicing stuff. Unless you know how you've done it before, and it's always good to have a sheet of paper on the side like this. So I can just take a scrap sheet of paper on the side, and then just practice doing this. Practice going with the side of your brush and just getting that look. How you get the sparkle look in your water. Happens a lot even in blue water when you're sitting in the sun doing plein air. When I was in Grand Marais this year, we had a lot of that, and that's where that's where I learned it actually. And so now this over here is not sparkly, so I'm just gonna wet it. Again, I have my towel here. on my surface so I don't have to use that much paper towel. Just go right over the boat. Actually, let's put a little yellow. Normally you have two yellow wells, because one yellow you use for mixing and one yellow you use pure, because it's hard to get the yellow pure unless you go like this and tap it out there so you can get pure yellow. I'm just going to take that right through here. Alright. Here we're going to get a few little sprinkles there, a little shiny stuff happening. Look at how this, isn't that shining already? Oh, isn't that great? Isn't that fun? I love that. Watercolor is so amazing, and actually, even acrylic painters, they can do the same thing. And then when my class down in Florida, I had one acrylic and one watercolor, and I think a couple of the acrylic painters liked some of the watercolor techniques that you can use, because you can use some of these techniques in acrylics. You can start out like this, and then you finish thick instead of the other way around. This paddle is going to be dark, but I want to get a little bit of this light off of there. I'm just going to take my paper towel and just get that paddle light again. Watch that you don't do little speckles and stuff. Okay, a little bit of light here. This is going to be a pretty fast painting, I think. We're almost done. So this is the excuse me, this is the shadow from above the tree. I'm going to toast here. Toast, everybody. Cheers again. Let's see if any questions. Sue says she watched the demo by Thomas Schaller, and he said something good. Color is often the question, but never the answer. Values. There you go. See? And he should know. He's one of the top 10, right? Top 10 watercolorists out there. I'm sure he got into AWS. I did not get into AWS this year. It's been a struggle for that. I have to start getting into a certain kind of style. I think most of the time you have to have a certain style that's very recognizable for your own type of style. It's a tough thing to do. One of these days we're going to do that in the newsletter. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the newsletter. I may have done that before too, talked about that you need kind of to get a sort of a style together. And usually it's just from all your classes you've taken and all the work you've done. It's kind of like just the way you paint. And so here we go with so that my water's pretty much done here now. I'm gonna do a little reflection from this person, and I'm gonna make it a red kayak, and give her a dark purple bluish shirt, I think, or light vest, or should I make it all red? The choices. Yeah, we'll make it blue. So we'll just make her, so knowing that, I can put that colors into the reflection below. So since it is a dark red boat, or a red boat, and the shadow's dark, I'm going to take that and right away put some of the soft edge darks in there, red. These are the shadows though, because this is shadowed, this part of the boat. And it doesn't show so much into the water. A lot of times when you see the image right up here, that's real, right? But artists can make it better than real a lot of times, because sometimes the way that the river's rippling and the way things are happening, sometimes it doesn't look as good as making it up so that you're getting the big parts to know exactly what that looks like, and so it reads better. Sometimes nature doesn't make it read good for you, to make it, if you're painting it, looks great in the photograph because everything is super detailed, but not into the painting. So you can't rely on your painting sometimes to give you everything exactly the way it should be in your painting. Unless you're doing a total mock of that exact painting or photograph, then yes, if you make it look exactly like that. But if you're making it loose, you cannot follow it completely at times, because you have to make it better than the photograph so that it shows your big areas and shows what's happening there or what's not happening there. So now I'm going to take some of the color that I'm going to use in her shirt, put that into the water down here. Now that's doing it on top of yellow, so now it turned green. So I didn't want that, so I'm going to pull that up there. And let's go with purple instead. I'm going to give her purple backpack, which is actually just dark here. And her hair is going to be dark, so you just kind of... So see how my reflection will look better than the reflection into the the photograph because I'm making it work so that you can see exactly what's above it. Where in the photograph it's being distorted by the water and some of the waves that are in there. So, and if you like that though, in the waves like that it has in the picture, then okay, go ahead and paint it like that. But then make sure you paint it really closely to that, almost to like a photographic detail. Okay, who else we got here? Welcome anybody else who I didn't say. Ann Suze. Who is it that's at Artist Heart Studio? What's your name? So I can say hello. All right, so I'm stalling here, so I'm gonna take another drink and have another toast. Cheers, because I gotta wait for it to dry. Because now we're gonna do some details. Once it dries, I don't use a hair dryer. People ask me if I use a hair dryer, not for the sometimes I use them for the demos, but the way I work, it dries by the time I get to it. And for this, but I do use a hair dryer, but I try not to when I'm in real life by myself working, because watercolor works until it's dry. So it's forming its soft edges while it's drying. It's giving me the most potent colors while it's drying. If I'm forcing it dry, it makes the hard edges harder, gives me watermarks. So you're forcing it to not do its job. You know, you're making it do it fast, and so you gotta let up a little bit. And but you know, when you're in a hurry and you have to do it, then yes, go ahead, use it. Cheers, everybody. All right, I think this is dry. So let's go with our smaller brush, and we'll get our background done. So some of these I want to be hard edged, right? Because it's in the foreground, and in my photograph, it's stands out way in front, almost where the kayaker is. So I'm gonna go in here now with hard edges and negative paint around some of these leaves. I will also later on, when this is totally dry, put some white with yellow leaves in there on top of that, which are going to be thick, which is a no-no for some people that don't like to use white or opaque colors, but I have used them a while now, and I use it only because it enhances my painting. I don't do it because I make a mistake or something. I do it because it actually enhances it. It makes it look better. I'm going to actually put a couple little bit of leaves in here. See, these are all hard edges now, and so I can go in here. And if I was copying every leaf that was in the picture, I'd have to draw them each all in there, so which I didn't do. I didn't draw every single leaf into the picture. So I'm faking some of these leaves. And then later on I will put some positive ones in there that are going to be with yellow and white. I'll show that in a second. How much time do we have here? Get out of the way. There we go. It's 7:03. Oh my gosh, we still got half an hour. We can slow down here a little bit. So we're gonna go here. Like I said, this is a little bit more simpler piece. It's basically a lot of foliage, a lot of water, and so you can spend some time on learning how to do your wet in the wet washes. So learn how to do those. In my class down there in Florida, the first thing we learn is how to control the pigment, especially in the watercolor. How much water to use, how much pigment to stop it from floating all over your paper. Now my monitor is very yellow, but this is actually really orange. Boy, I gotta fix my monitor. It's so yellow. This is actually orange with a little bit of yellow on the ends here. So you're gonna put that in there. I see there's a little bit of dark in this area over here. So nice little details. I'll do a little bit over here too, but not going to make it quite as dark as that side, and not, it can be hard edge, but not as much contrast. So keeping your eye like a secondary interest, not so much your first. All right, so you got your front and back, and you can even spatter this. A lot of people like to do that. I actually kind of love spattering, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to take and do a little bit of, I'll take some white and yellow. I'm just going to spatter. What the heck, see, a little bit of a spatter makes you feel good. And again, if it gets too far into this area, just rub it a little bit into the paper. You can see what happens. It gives you little dots, like little leaves. It's messy, and some people don't like messy, and so that's not for you then. Don't do it if you don't like messy. And so here I'm just going to tap a little bit. What I do is I take the brush and just tap it on my hand, go straight down here. Other people have different ways. You can also dab it up with your finger. If you don't want this to happen where you get these little things in everywhere, just put a piece of paper towel over that area, and you won't have all this stuff ripping all over the place. but that's okay. And so now, with my small brush, I'm going to go in there and put a couple of those leaves in there I was talking about. And the only thing we have left is taking off the masking fluid and doing our little yellow, our boat. So, okay, yellow and white. And so somebody had made some suggestions for some more different paintings. Again, if you ever have a suggestion of what you want like to see painted, or if you have a painting that you've been trying and you just cannot get it, and you want to send it to me, that's fine. Just email it to me at BeckerArt@gmail.com, and or my website. Just go there and you'll find that same thing. And then just let me see it, and I may try it or may not, or may just tell you what you have to do, or maybe just tell you to throw it away. Can't do it. But here we're doing a little bit of white, little leaves here. I don't like this over here. Okay. And there's many different ways of getting this type of look. There's sponges. You can put sponges on there. You can draw every leaf in there. So many different ways you can do that. You decide which way you like best. Now, I don't have a rubber cement pickup, but I do have a kneaded rubber eraser. They work just as well. These are kneaded rubber erasers. This is where you stretch it and you clean it out. And so make sure when you're taking masking fluid off, you do it slowly for one, and make sure everything is totally dry. You can pretty much, on some papers, you can just take your finger like this. Look at, I'm taking my finger and it just comes right off. You have to be, certain papers don't come off as well. So you got to make sure that you go slow. A lot of these papers, otherwise they'll rip like big parts of the paper away. It may rip underneath the masking fluid, but if you don't go really fast, it won't rip farther than that. So here I'm going to take my rubber cement or the rubber eraser. Rubber cement pickup is one of those square things, which I don't have with me right at the moment. And so I'm just going to take my finger. A finger a lot of times works really well. Look at that. I'm just rubbing over it. I'm getting all the sparkles. See how all the sparkles are coming back? Ooh. Over here, we're going to get some sparkles back. And that's what I use masking fluid for, to get brightness, hard edge stuff, because when you use masking fluid, you are going to get a really hard edge. And if you don't want a hard edge on the areas that you're working on, then don't use this. I'd rather use paint then, if you don't want a hard edge, then really, where it really shows through a lot. So here, now we're here, I think it's still a little wet. Nope. So I'm just going to go in here with my... Also, if you use your eraser, you erase the pencil line underneath. So if you want the pencil line underneath, you better take it off of your finger so you don't erase the pencil line. Like I changed here a little bit where I put the what do you call it, the life vest on her, and then I instead of a backpack, and then the life vest she has like short sleeve shirt on. So we're gonna go in there first and with a small brush, and now all the masking fluid's off. So you see how I've got all the nice little white specks now, and kind of an effects also with these little specks that I went across with the paper too. Somebody asked me to repeat my email address. My email address is BeckerArt@gmail.com. If you can't remember that, remember my name at David@DavidR. Don't ever forget the R. Becker.com. So it's either David@DavidRBecker.com or BeckerArt@gmail.com. Whichever one you feel is easy to remember. Or just go to my website and it's there too. So here we go. Now we're going to do some more detailed painting. Because the water, we're going to put a few waves in there later, but other than that, we just have to do her. And so I'm going to start out with the bigger parts. Always start with bigger parts. The bigger parts come first. And let me grab a pair of glasses because this is smaller. And they're right over here, right out of my reach. Okay, so here we go. Now I can see something. So we're going to go in here and just start out with the dark, hard edge so I don't wet it. Anytime you want something that's hard edge, don't wet the surface. And then this goes down. And we go straight across the bottom. When you're doing a boat, when it goes into the water, you got to remember to keep it straight, horizontal. A lot of times, even when you're doing a boat from the side, otherwise it doesn't look, I mean, it may go uphill a little bit, but you don't want to show that too much because then it starts looking like it's out on top of the water. want to make it look like it's in the water. And then we're going to take, and right away there's going to be some ripples right here, white. And we'll put some of that in there, but then I'm going to go right away with the same color and put it right into the water with the little waves. Little waves that are a little bit harder edged. And then of course she throws shadow on top of this waves, on top of her kayak, so we do that right away too. And normally I would do the red, the bright red first. And I'm not sure why I didn't. I guess I just wasn't thinking. You know, it's not always like an exact thing you have to do. You don't have to follow the exact way. Look at underneath her arm. There's a really bright yellow, really bright orange right underneath her arm. You know, this shows that it's really bright in there. And so it's like when we do the trees, the burning of the light through the trees, the same thing. So on the edge, putting some orange right on the edge where, again, I like redheads, so giving her red hair. And so we're going to put a little red orange here and here. See that? And then we're going to put a little bit of orange underneath her arms here. And then right into the boat itself, the kayak, put some orange. Because it's a red kayak, but when the sun is on it really bright, it turns it to the next color, light red. But light red is pink, and I don't want pink. I want to have the yellow mixed with the red, and so that would give you an orange. So here we go right in here. And we just kind of going to go up against that. Get my, see that's the side of her arm. And so, you know, this is drawing, so you make sure you have your drawing right with pencil, and then just follow it. I made her arm red, which now is too bright, so I'm going to take a little bit of gray, just the brown that I have in my palette here, and just make that dark brown. Just because it's contrasty. It doesn't matter what flesh color she has, it's going to be dark, and so it's going to be the colors that are surrounding around it more than, it's called like reflected color. It's reflecting the color that's around her. A little bit of shininess there, that's her hand on the paddle. And you can all fake that all together too sometimes. You don't have to like do pieces. You can go from the arm right into the boat because you really don't see where it's sitting. There's not a big shadow right where the boat starts and where it ends and stuff. So you can make it so that it all goes together as one. And later on, you can also go back in and do little highlights, like dark highlights or light highlights. I call them dark highlights because they're like little black little things right where the like the crevices where things hit together. There's always little dark edges there. And the darker you get these shadows, the brighter the sun will look in there. Oh, I just went right over there. It's supposed to be white. Check out your, a lot of times, you know, I do a lot on where I just do whatever I want, but sometimes really look at the picture. And if it's white here, leave it white because that should look like it's light area on that side. Because that's where the light's coming down, right? Put a little, mix a little bit right here. It's almost a little bit too dark here, or too light. Now the paddle itself, here's her hand. Now the paddle itself is light on the top, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like the underside of it, like a shadow underneath. And then the paddle itself is really dark. So I'm going to use a color like this bluish purple that I have somewhere else. I'm going to use that into the paddle so I have it somewhere else. You can see there's some blues and purples throughout here. And so the paddle itself will be the same color. And I do a hard edge, but inside the paddle will be wet, and that's where I'll float pigment. Always float your pigment after you get it wet. Once it's wet, and take other colors and just float them. You can even take yellow. Watch this. I'm going to put yellow, a little yellow on the top, like it's reflecting on top. It's one of the, that's why I call it float your pigment. Everything float your pigment, because it's so important to do that. Sit there and put those colors in there and let them float. See how it looks? It's a little bright, like it matches that what's back there. Ah, that's so cool. And then we're going to do a little line underneath the paddle. Line underneath this paddle. And if you don't have a steady hand, hold your pinky up for one. You can hold your pinky like this, like you're writing. Hold your pinky up. And the other way is to make it sloppy, make it messier. I know that Sarah Yeoman does a lot of these upper state New York pictures with the kayakers and canoers, and hers are a lot looser than this, and they look great. They're just amazing. And so we're gonna go in here and then just get it really dark first, hard edged. And I can always go back in there later with the little white paint and do little sparkles on things. And even though she has red hair, doesn't mean you can't, right in the center here, make it really dark hair right here. And then I'm gonna put the red. It can be like terracotta red, on the sides a little bit. All right, so there's some of her hair. And then we're gonna do a dark life vest. Or should I make it red? Come on, make it, boy, oh boy, I don't know. It's green on there right now, or it's blue. I'm gonna go with the blue. The blue they've been using, the blue dark. And so we're just gonna put a little collar first, and then, and again, I start out dark. I go around her arms. The backpack goes all the way to the side, but I'm not making a backpack, so I'm just gonna go around her arms here a little bit. I don't see the difference between her hair and the back and the life vest. And then come down to her waist. And then you take the color of the boat and reflect it back up into the life vest. See that? Right up in there, bounces back up. And just worry about the values. The values are what will show you what it looks like. And the colors are there. They'll be fine as long as you use things that are from elsewhere around it. I'm going to give her an orange top. And then she sparkles. So yeah, she sparkles. It's right in there, okay. And her arm looks a little big right here, so I'll put a little line underneath there. Again, put a little bit of bright red right where it touches. Right where it touches her arm. A little bright red there. Maybe a little red in the paddle a little bit. As long as you float stuff, you put anything in there. Let me show you closer up so you can see how much color I've got in there. See how much color I kind of put in there? It's just all kinds of color. Nice bright reds. And then it'll dry duller. It always dries a little bit duller anyways. And then we'll go back the other opposite direction again, where the blue got kind of covered up. So I'm going to go back with a little bit more blue. Going down in there. And again, as long as it's floating, you're fine. You have to have it floating though, because otherwise it looks like it's opaque. We don't want it opaque, we want it floating, and it'll look transparent, even though it isn't transparent. Underneath the boat here, I think it's gonna be a little bit darker because that red is not dark enough. So I'm gonna go in here, put the edge, and then make my red darker there, so it sits better and gives me the contrast that I need. In the photograph, this is really dark and contrasty, so this is my center of interest. In the center of interest, you always get your lightest lights and your darkest dark, so I need that right there, and at the same time I can get the reflection that I didn't get before, because before I got this little lighter stuff, which is fine, but then what I'll do is I'll make that on top of that, so that's like reflection on top of reflection. And now I'm getting the hard edge lines too. You know, the hard edge reflections, there's no more soft edges down here. It's not wet any longer, so you go in and get all your hard edges, all your little waves, all your fun little waves. All your nice blue, dark blue from the life vest is up here too, hard edged. And then also underneath the pedal, there's gonna be reflections, and they're actually, no, they're not reflections. They're shadows. They're actually shadows from above. So on the surface of the water, it's gonna give you a little bit of a shadow on top of the surface of the water. You're gonna get a little bit of it there. It's broken up because, again, it's waves, so you're going to get breaking up some of the shadows. All right, what else? Let me see what we got here. Like I said, this is not going to be a super hard one for you. It's just make sure you get the right values. There's not much drawing. Let me do the last thing is going to be going in and get my water a little bit better. I want the waves in there a little bit better. Some of it, like this area looks almost like dirt, like it's not water. So waves will take care of that. And I can keep them the same color that's there already, and then just make a tint. And a tint of color. What is a tint of color? A tint of color, I call tints, I call the washes either a tint or a wash. A wash is when you use a lot of pigment, like up here, we use a lot of pigment. A tint is when you use a little bit of color and a lot of water. So it just is here. This is a tint. Here's a tint and a wash. We still got plenty of time, right? Yep, not too bad. And so here's a tint of, let's say, red, this reddish color here. I'm using a lot of water, and so this is a tint. See, it's not very bright. There's not, it's just a little tint. There's not as much paint in it. You're not going to get as much of the granulation happening because there's not much paint in there. This is a wash. Now I'm going to put a wash on top of the tint. That's a wash, where I'm putting a lot of paint on top. I consider that a wash when you put a lot of paint. So this would be a wash. And this is a dry brush wash. But when I put the water down as a tint, and then I come back in with a wash. So a tint is a little bit of color, a lot of water. So that's what I want to do now on this picture for the waves. And I want to get it hard edged, but they will look soft because they're not that contrasty. If you want to have a hard edge that doesn't look hard edged, make it very limit the values, very light values. So just slightly darker, it'll look like a soft edge, even though it's a hard edge. So I'm taking the color that I already have down on the board, on the paper, making it slightly darker, and giving myself some waves. Some few waves here and there, just to make it, again, look a little bit more like waving water. I guess waving water is no waves, right? So we're doing a little bit darker. So this is pretty dark, so I got to go with a lot darker than that. And so I'm just going to go in here, get myself some waves going, go across some of the white, just so that not all of it has to be white. There can be a little bit, there can be dots that are not white, that are just a little bit more yellow. A little bit wavier up here. And I think that is going to be it. Any last questions? Let me know your questions before my last brush stroke here. And let me know. And again, if you ever have questions afterwards, after this is all over, go to the YouTube channel, and on the comment section, just put them in there, and I will answer back. Not right away sometimes, but depends on how busy I am that week. And I will put the picture, if you didn't get the picture in my newsletter or on my website, when it goes away, it will always be in the comment section. The link will be there to get the big picture that you can use for the reference photo. And over here, actually, that little bit of yellow, one more thing. That yellow can go down here and just reflect into the water over here. See that? Look at that, look at that. Ah, isn't that nice? All right. Maybe a little bit too much. All right, so let me get over here. Let me get our end frame. Any questions, you let me know. So let me put this over here. Don't ever leave your brush in the water like this, David. Don't let them sit in there because it'll ruin the paint job and stuff on your brush. And when you put them on here, later on I'll rinse it. So thanks, guys. Thanks for another great Thursday night. They're always Thursday. They're always free. If you do like to donate something, go to my website. There's a place you can donate if you want to donate something. What we're gonna be doing next week, I'm not sure. We definitely do them every Thursday. If I'm busy on Thursdays, we do them on Wednesdays or Fridays, depending. But thanks again, guys. Have a great rest of the week and the weekend, and I will see you next week. Cheers, you guys.